Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
And sadly, our other co-host, Carly, has strep, so
it's a bummer.
She will not be here. So
it's a bummer. All, Sorry, Carly.
Yep, sorry, Carly. Feel better, and we'll see you soon. Yeah, and today we're joined by our very special longtime friend, man. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How about you, Eric? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Normally we start at like 9 a.m., so this 11 a.m.
This is great.
I
love it, man.
Awesome.
This is great. Usually I'm like just waking up and I'm dragging myself to the microphone, and yeah, this is wonderful.
Where are you from, man?
I'm originally from D.C.
Okay.
Washington, D.C. I was born and raised there. Moved a lot. My father was a air traffic controller.
Oh, nice.
So
which airport?
A lot of them. Dulles, Reagan.
He did all of them, like BWI.
He did a lot, man. A lot of airports.
Rad.
We moved a lot.
That's a solid job. All right. When were you first introduced to recovery?
I say it was around 2009.
Okay.
I was introduced to recovery. I went to my first meeting. I think it was my first rehab. 2009. I knew about recovery, but I never went to any meetings or anything. I always tried to, do it on my own.
Yeah. And how long have you been clean?
12 years.
Hell yeah, man. All right. Well, with all that out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to you. Share your story with us. So take it away, bro.
Okay. Like I said, I was born in Washington, D.C.
I got to interrupt you real quick, right at the beginning. You're from D.C.
Yeah.
How'd you become a Raiders fan?
How
did you become a Raiders
fan? We were just talking about it.
So, my father... Okay, I'll get into that. Hold on, let me get to the beginning.
Okay,
and you'll see. Wow.
Okay,
so,
you'll put it together. All right.
So I was adopted.
Okay.
At a very young age, at 4 months old, and I was adopted to my adoptive parents, and at a very young age, my father was one of us. He had a substance use problem. He used to drink a lot. All the time, which is kind of scary because he was an air traffic controller.
Yeah.
He was definitely an alcoholic. So that goes to show you. But early on, he was very abusive to my mother, to me, physically, verbally, abusive. And I was forced to be a Redskin fan.
Wow.
That's terrible. It's terrible. Yep. It's a terrible way. That's child abuse right there.
Yeah, I was forced to be a Redskin fan.
Was it the 80s, though?
It was early, yeah. I was born in 69, so
I mean, things were good, though. Like,
things were decent.
Not like...
It's not the 2000...
Was Jurgensen... You missed Jurgensen, probably, though, just by a little bit.
Think, yeah, just by a little bit. I was like around 75, 76 when I really started to get into football and be able to, like...
Was that when, Lambo was?
No. He was... No.
He coached there, though.
Moving on.
Sorry. We need another podcast for football.
So, when I was old enough to pick the team when I was old enough
you rebel.
and brave enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to be a Redskin fan no more. I'm going to pick my own team. When I was old enough and brave enough to do that, I wanted a team the furthest from Washington.
All right.
And it was the LA Raiders at that time at the Coliseum. And I'm a rebellious person. I like black. I like, and the mystique of what they were.
Yeah.
So I was like, yes, that's my team.
They were bad boys, too.
That was it right there.
They were badasses.
And that's my team, man. From then on, when I heard that they came from a biker gang, they started as a biker gang, I was like, oh, yes, this is who I want.
And Davis was crazy back then.
Al
Davis was wild.
Yeah.
Revolutionized the game, though.
He did.
As an owner.
Yep. So that's how I became a Raiders fan. I think one of my earliest traumas that I've learned now doing some work on myself is that my parents told me early on, like when I was 6 or 7, they gave me this book. And this is how they explained to me what being adopted was.
Okay.
It was called The Chosen One. And it was written so a 6-year-old could read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it had this stork carrying this egg, and it came down, and there was this couple.
Because human babies come from eggs.
There was this couple, right? There was this couple who wanted to have a baby, but they couldn't.
Yeah.
Right? So one day, there was a knock at the door, and they showed the stork, and the stork came, and there was this basket, and they opened the basket, and there was this baby, right? This little white baby.
Yeah.
That's part of the story, too. A little white baby, right?
Yeah.
So wait, are your adopted parents white?
No, they were black.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Well,
at least color in the baby for me. So, so
That's what's actually, dude, kids' books for the longest time, there weren't any, like, black kids' children's books. It was all white kids.
Right.
It was all white kids.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But, so I read this book, and so my perception was my reality at 6 years old was I came from an egg, and I was white.
You were white.
It's funny now, right?
Yeah, it's
but
funny
as
now.
a 6-year-old and you're in school,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
that'll mess you up.
and your teachers are asking all the kids like, "Hey, what do your parents do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't have parents.
Yeah.
I came from an egg." And then all the kids start laughing.
yeah.
But at 6 years old, that's your reality.
Yeah, that's what you were
That's-
being taught.
That's what my reality and I thought. And so
And that's like a traumatic thing too, dude.
Yeah.
Like when all the kids laugh, because I had like a moment like that too with like religion. I made a fool of myself, and like that stuff sticks.
right. Absolutely, man. So from then on, I felt less than. I felt
Yeah.
different, and I was very hyperactive kid. I had ADHD and whatever letters you could think of I had it. And I think my early obsession and compulsion came from Ritalin.
Yeah.
They put me on Ritalin to keep me chill in school. And I remember my mother would give me a pill in the morning, and by lunchtime I would get another pill. And I remember around 9:30, 10 o'clock, that shit would start wearing off. Can I cuss?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
That shit would start wearing off, and I couldn't concentrate or focus on anything else but the clock, because I knew at 12 o'clock I was going to go get that other pill, and I was going to be feeling good, And I think early on in my life, that's when the obsession and compulsion to use something to make me feel good about myself or change my feelings came in. So when that happened, I was on Ritalin for like 5 years, dude. So when they took me off of that, I was just in search of something to make me feel better. And so I played football. I played sports. I was really good in sports, and that was a lot of my outlet.
What position were you?
I was a wide receiver and a safety.
Nice.
Ooh, good.
I was really skinny and really fast. So that was one.
Did you like offense or defense more?
I like defense more.
Defense.
To hit people?
Yeah, because you
Offense.
didn't get
Yep.
you get hit. Because
Absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you this story. So it was a homecoming game, and I remember I did a down and in, and when I turned for the ball, I caught the ball, and then somebody hit me right here on my knee, and I fell back, and I remember holding the ball and looking to the right, and I was looking at the bottom of my cleat
Oh God.
on my back.
Yeah.
My cleat is right up here by my
Did you have a
head.
compound?
It tore every ligament and every
that's
thing
right
in
at
there.
the knee. Knee
At
was
the
going
knee.
the wrong direction.
And I said, that's my cleat. That should not be there. And then and that was it. I got a scar, 12-inch scar. It goes all the way down. They literally had to take muscle from my thigh and stretch it to replace all the ligaments and stuff.
Knee
So
surgery.
what-
Knee surgery back then was entirely different.
Yeah, what
yeah.
even what was it? Like ACL, like
was
MCL,
all of it.
like all of it. Just all of it was torn.
Blown, completely torn.
Dude.
So I was in a cast from my nuts to my ankle for forever, it seemed like. But this is where manipulation and more of that obsession and compulsion. When the pain pills, they were giving me Tylenol with codeine, and I remember my grandmother, because my parents would go to work, so my grandmother would stay with me, and she would give me a pill, and I would take the pill, and she was older, so she'd be like, "Baby, are you ready for your pill?" Just like an hour after she gave me a pill, and I was like, Yes, I am. Grandma. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Or she would come in and say, did I give you your pill? And I'd be like, no, you didn't give me my pill, Grandma. It's really starting to hurt. I think I need my pill. You know what I mean? She done already gave me 2.
Yep.
You know, and that's where a lot of the manipulation came. You know, I learned to start manipulating people to get what I wanted. You know.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't graduate high school because I went into summer school because I lost a lot of time in school and I had to make it up. And summer school is where all of us are.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I met someone.
We're just hanging out.
Yeah. That's where I, going to smoke weed in the woods.
I still think I was the best summer school student ever. It was great.
Right. Summer school was like barely do what you can to get by, and the rest is just have fun while you're in there.
Yeah.
Teachers didn't give a fuck, come in there high. And that's when I smoked weed for the first time, dude. And once I smoked weed, it felt like when I was on Ritalin. So I was like, oh my God. Because Ritalin, if you're don't have ADHD, it stimulates you, makes you speed all over the place. But if you have it, it slows you down.
Yeah.
It slows your mind down. You can concentrate better on things. So smoking weed did the same thing for me. And because my ADHD, I have like 10 TVs playing at the same time.
Yeah.
I can't focus on one thing at all. Like I'll be in the middle of a conversation with my coworkers and I'll just go on about something completely different than what we're talking about. Yep. And they're looking at me like, oh yeah, you're having a moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, my bad. What were we talking about?
Yeah.
Because I'll go into the like, hey, did you know that such and such?
I completely understand. My wife gets mad at me when I do that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's just me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go on a tangent.
Yeah, there is no A to B linear story with probably any of us. Like, no you're hitting C, D, F, like Z.
It's
you're
Pulp Fiction in here.
It is. The story is going, everywhere.
My wife was the one who finally said, something's wrong with you, because she came home one day and I had a good idea. I was going to do the dishes. I was going to clean up the house, right? So I started by doing the dishes. And as I started to sink, I had the water running and I'm doing the dishes. And then I was like, oh, I got to go get dishes out the living room. I go do the dishes out the living room. And then I noticed there's stuff on the floor. So I grab the vacuum and I start vacuuming and I find clothes on the floor. So now I got to go do laundry.
Yeah.
So I go downstairs, I'm doing laundry, and my
water's running the whole time.
My wife comes in the house and she says, what the fuck's going on? I said, what do you mean? Where are you? I said, I'm in the basement. She said, why is the water running and the vacuum running and you're in the basement?
Yeah.
I said, oh shit, I was doing the dishes.
I'm cleaning the house.
I was doing the dishes. And she was like, you didn't even finish any of it. The dishes are still, you didn't vacuum but half of the room, and you're downstairs doing laundry. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know how I got here. Yeah. I do not know how I got here. She's like, we need to have you tested for something. Yeah. And then they found out that, all these TVs going on, and I'll just go with the one.
Whatever one's loudest at the moment.
So then, I constantly smoked weed. And then it started affecting my behaviors. Like I'd be an ass, like anything. I was an ass when I didn't have it. I was cool when I did, and then it led to, it's a shame because I can't even remember the year my mom died, because that's how much painful, like my parents to me were not really my parents. You know what I mean? They were my adoptive parents. I ran away a lot as a kid, went through juvie, went to detention center. I did a lot of stuff after summer school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
After summer school, my life just became a fucking complete train wreck. I was stealing cars and, drinking, getting high, smoking weed, running away from home at 16. I remember I caught all these charges and they sent me to this group home, and I got half the group home to run away with me, and we stole a car and we were going to California.
Oh, nice.
But we stole a ex-police officer's car. It had his badge and his gun in the glove box.
It's not good.
But we took off. We went to California, man, and we were on our way to California.
Is that a federal crime?
At 16.
Probably.
we were at this gas station. We were going to rob this gas station because we ran out of money, and this police followed us and saw us, and then long story short, we all got locked up in Oklahoma.
Ooh, okay.
And then,
It's impressive you made it all the way to Oklahoma.
That is. At 16, that's really impressive.
right, we was on a mission, man.
That's straight cash too. There ain't no credit cards
I
back then.
don't know how.
Nope. Nice.
Breaking into houses, breaking into cars, all the way to Oklahoma, just making it to the next town. You know, as far as the gas will take us. When we get ready to get on E, then we start all over. That would take longer than that story would be longer than your podcast.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to talk about it. I
Yeah,
can tell y'all some crazy shit that happened on that.
16.
At 16. Everybody in the car was 16, and we had a 14-year-old with us.
Fuck, dude.
And so in Oklahoma, I learned that everybody keeps guns in their car.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Rifles,
that makes sense.
Shotguns,
That makes sense.
pistols under the seat, you know.
When you
So
were born 69, so this is 85.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes
everybody
You
had
could still
guns.
smoke in like malls and shit back then.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Courthouses, you smoke
The
anywhere.
old days.
Airplanes back then.
Yeah, dude, they tell stories about like high school kids, like they'd have rifle racks in their vehicles. They would drive to the high school with their gun in their pickup, and then right after school they would go hunting. Like,
Well, they still do that in like, more rural
in
places.
Oklahoma. Yeah,
Like,
it's
just
different.
not where we live here, you know.
No.
No. So we got arrested. We broke into this house. There was nobody home. We thought nobody was home. There was a lady there. We tied her up.
Oh God.
We put her in a chair. We're still stealing stuff that we could try to sell or, cash and stuff. And we were going to put her in the basement. And then she said her husband would be home soon. I said, well, you'll be all right then when he gets home. And we opened the door. And it was quiet the whole time. We opened the door and this big ass dog jumped out. And then when the dog jumped out, we all scattered. And as we scattered, we hit her. And she was strapped to the chair and she fell down the steps and broke all kinds of shit. And we got charged for that. So I was facing 65 years in Oklahoma at 16 years old.
Oh my God, dude.
And they said, look, you can stay here and stand trial or we can extradite you back to Maryland. I was like, I'll take plan B, take me back to Maryland.
Yeah.
I'm going to start all over.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't stay in Oklahoma.
So, yeah, that was just the insanity of my life at that time.
Wait, so you didn't get any charges or anything?
No.
They just shipped you off.
We
They
were
just-
16.
Yeah.
Well, me and my other friend, we were already on probation because we were in the group home. We were forced to be there.
Yeah.
So we violated that. So when we got back to Maryland, our plan was we were going to take off as soon as the plane landed.
Yeah.
No, didn't happen. There was police everywhere, and they cuffed as soon as we got off the plane. And
Man.
yeah, but fast forward, shit just progressed. I ended up going to prison for armed robbery, handgun. I went to pretty much every prison in the state of Maryland: Old Jail, New Jail, Roxbury, and Hagerstown, Cut Annex down in Jessup.
The ones out in Allegheny.
Just the system. I was in the system, man. Once you get in the system, it's hard to get out. And I got out 95. I had just turned 21 when I got arrested. Yep, just turned 21. I got out in 96. I did 5 years on 7, and I met my wife. And then I had this big idea that I was going to take her income tax check and flip it. And ended up violating parole and went back to prison again. And my wife, she stuck with me. She came to see me twice a week up there. And I got out and I had a plan. I was just going to do right, man. I was just going to do right. So instead of doing right, I completely did wrong. That's how,
Of course.
we have this, left to my best thinking, shit will always end up fucked up.
Yep.
Always, so then, I ended up going back to prison, like I said, and caught another charge. And when I got out, I said, things have got to change. But I never changed anything about me. I was still the same person.
Yep.
And I didn't know how to change. You know, I tried hard, and I didn't know how to deal with emotional letdown. Like, I go for a job interview, well, you're a convicted felon. No, we can't. You know, you got armed robbery. We can't hire you. You just don't hear back, and you start thinking, I'm just a worthless piece of shit. Like, dude, I'm never going to get a job. Like, I'm never going to, you know, and then I would just continue to use more and more. And so then my mother passed away. I did get a job, and somebody did take a chance on me. I got to work in a warehouse, and by working in the warehouse, I worked in the warehouse for like 2 years, and I just remember, and this is where I look back at it now and say that was my higher power looking out for me, because I was just standing on the dock, and my supervisor was like, fuck, I need to find a truck driver. And I got to hire another truck driver now because ours just quit. And I stood there, and something just said,
I can drive a truck.
Yeah, well, I can drive a truck. I said, well, hey, I can do it. And she said, can you? You want to? And I was like, sure. And my thinking is it's better to get me out of this hot ass warehouse and I get to drive around.
Dude.
You know? So I went and got my CDL. I began driving a truck, and I drove a truck this was in 1990. No, not 1990, 2000. You know, I began driving a truck, and for a couple of years I drove a truck, and I continued to drive trucks for the next 20 years, 10, 15 years. And and during this time my mother had passed away, and you know, I couldn't be emotionally available for myself, so it was hard for me to even have emotions towards her passing. You know, maybe because I was numbing it a lot. And by this time I had started sniffing coke, you know. Partying with people, sniffing coke. Well,
you're a truck driver. I mean, yeah,
it was fun. It was fun then. It was like, oh, sniffing coke, we're having fun, you know. And then I remember one day I went to buy some coke, and they were in there smoking these little rocks, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Ooh, cry.
And they was like, yo, you don't want to do this. And I was like, well, you tell me I don't want to do something. What the hell you mean? Matter of fact, give me 2 of them. You know? And as you know, it was off to the races, buddy. And then my mother left me an inheritance, $75,000.
Oh.
You know, so now here's the perfect storm.
That's a lot of crack.
I am smoking crack.
It's a lot of crack.
And I got an inheritance of $75,000. Mind you, I'm married, and I have 2 kids at this time, right? I did not tell my wife that the money was coming. I waited, I got the check, and I disappeared into the Crackhole of Oblivion.
Yeah.
I was gone.
The Crackhole of Oblivion. That's the title, man. I'm sorry.
That's the one, man.
I was gone for like 2 months. Just left her and the kids. I think I smoked up $55,000-$60,000 worth of crack.
Jesus Christ!
And everywhere I went, I had the party with me.
Have you? I've had this thought. If you could ever be shown, like, just in a pile or in one room, all the drugs you did in your life, what it would fucking look like, it'd be unbelievable.
Don't want to see it.
They'd be
not interesting.
I'm curious.
The cigarettes alone would disgust me.
Oh god.
The cigarettes alone would be like, ugh.
Yeah. If I've probably smoked this whole room in cigarettes.
Exactly,
it's
dude.
terrible.
Exactly. More than that, probably.
And any of our listeners out there, I'm going on 1 month.
I know you're doing really well.
I'm doing really.
You're really
well.
doing really good. I'm really proud of you.
It has taken me forever. I've been
really proud of you. I know I fuck with you a lot.
On and off since I was 11. It's 25 years.
That's good, man. I quit cigarettes when I quit using, but I did pick up a vape.
Yeah.
I've been vaping for the last 12 years.
Yep.
So
anyway, $50,000.
Yeah. Before my wife, she found out that I had this secret bank account, and which I still don't know how, because she wasn't on it, but she somehow got it locked and got me locked out of it. And look, I'm buying 8 balls every time I go.
Yeah.
I'm in hotel rooms. I stayed up for 5 days straight I literally smoked so much crack that my body shut down and said, "You need to sleep." Like, I would wake up with the stem in my hand. Yo, have you ever smoked
Yes.
crack so long that
I have not smoked
But
crack,
I had
I've done
heroin,
lots of
so
cocaine.
like
Fall
there's a
asleep?
reason
How
I
do
was
you
falling
do
asleep,
that?
but not for you. Like if you're not doing dope too, like I mean, why are you
No.
falling asleep?
no, because
That reminds me of the Dave Chappelle where he was like, "We found you asleep smoking crack." He was like, "That's impossible, Rhonda. You can't fall asleep while you're smoking crack."
well, yes, you can.
Yes, I think
Yes, you
I
can.
think you can.
And I wasn't doing dope.
Yeah,
I was just doing crack.
but you were 5 days.
5
days is terrifying.
days. My
Things
body,
get weird.
yeah, my
We talked
body,
about it in our last podcast. Yeah.
my body literally shut down. I woke up. I was like, did I just fall asleep?
Yeah.
Like, what? I didn't want to do that. I still got more crack to smoke. Like, my body was like, dude.
Yep. We're done here. Yep.
Yeah.
Snooze button.
Yeah. And so yeah, when that was cut off, and her and my best friend at the time told me that she was not going to let me see my kids ever again, and this, I agreed to go to treatment. I went to Stone Ridge in Battle Creek, Michigan.
That sounds nice.
That does.
It is a Scientology rehab.
That
Does not sound nice.
It was
That took a south turn real quick.
it was completely insane.
How did you find like?
I didn't find it. She found it.
Victoria went there. Victoria B. She went there too.
Stone Ridge?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So-
She told me stories about Scientology recovery. And like we like on the podcast we talk about
We support all recoveries.
We support all recoveries, but I'm sorry, fuck Scientology.
Yeah,
like
that
that
was no-
recovery is fucked up.
It wasn't recovery. It was more of mind control.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's a
no.
fucking cult, of course.
It wasn't recovery.
No.
Well, you like watch stuff, right? Like I've
Well, first you start off sitting in a chair, me and you, face to face, knees to knees.
She told me this exact same story. Keep going.
Sitting there face to face, knees to knees, and for the first, it started off 5 minutes. It ended up like after 3 days, you're doing an hour of staring at your buddy. This was my buddy, and your
Cool.
buddy, you would sit there like this, stare at him. Couldn't blink. I mean, you could blink, but you couldn't. You couldn't look around. You couldn't scratch your nose. You could not move, bruh. Or if they caught you moving, you would have to start over. So you learn really quick. Don't move. So the first hour, you're staring at each other.
okay.
You get to stand up for 2 minutes, stretch, but then you had to sit back down. And the second hour, you had to sit there with your eyes closed, like this.
Huh.
In the morning and in the evening. 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, right? But we adapt. Okay,
yeah,
this is what I got to do to get the fuck out of here. This is what I'm gonna do. All right. Then they give you this book, and I was in book 1, and I opened up book 1, and me and my buddy, her name was Lisa. Me and Lisa look at book 1, and it said, "Do birds fly?" And I was like, "What the fuck? Do birds fly? Of course they fly." Do fish swim? Well, of course they swim.
Yeah.
Then I get to the next page and they said, if you do not get the answer of yes and only yes, then you must repeat the question. So I was like, what? So I called my wife on the phone and I said, I'm telling her for the first day, I tell her, look, this place is crazy, dude. You got to get me the fuck out of here. I don't care where you send me. I will go from here to anywhere else.
Yeah.
And she says, "You just give it a chance, you know."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Look." So then the second day I called back, I said, "Look,
They
do
never
birds fly?"
believe you.
And she said, "What? What are you talking about?" I said, "Good. You don't understand the question? Let me repeat the question. Do birds fly?" And she said, "Look, you're scaring me. What? Good. You don't understand the question? Let me repeat the question. Do birds fly?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Good. Thank you." And she said, "What? What is?" I said, "Do fish swim?" She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Let me repeat the question. Do fish swim?" And she's like, "What is going on?" I said, "Exactly. This is what
this is
we
what the fuck
are
I'm doing.
learning in here. This is what this book I'm reading is telling me." And it's got pictures of birds and fish. And she's like, "Well, let me
He makes
let me
calls.
research this shit some more." So her and her sister get online and they go further down past all the good stuff and they get into the back where people are like
The real review.
the real
Scientology
reviews were.
shit.
And she was like, So she calls me. I was in class. She calls me and she says, look, don't say anything. I got a car coming to pick you up at 4 o'clock. Have your stuff packed. We're getting you the fuck out of there. I said, thank you, God. And I went back and told Lisa. And I told Lisa, I said, Lisa, look, you my peeps, yo. We've been through this, but I got to go. I'm sorry.
How long were you there?
I was there for like 2 weeks now. And she was like, it was 6 months.
Was Lisa cool?
It was 6 to 9 months.
Or had she been brainwashed?
No, Lisa was like, this is just crazy.
Yeah.
And so Lisa was like, don't leave me. Please don't leave me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, where are you going to go, Lisa? She's like, I'm going to go call my mom right now. So she went and called her mom. Her mom called my wife. My wife told her mom. And her mom said, for me not to leave without Lisa. And I was like,
you saved Lisa.
so I was like, all right. So Lisa, we got to go in here in school. We got to pretend shit's
all good. Yeah.
all good. And at 3:30, we just going to get up. We're going to go pack our shit. We're going to go outside and wait for the car to pick us up. Right?
There weren't like texts and shit like walking around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
So look.
Wait. The plot thickens.
So look, they call me back. They call me. They say, hey, your wife's on the phone for you again. And I was like, what? So I go in the room. The door closes. Boom. And I look at the phone. And you know how the phone, the switch is lit up for what line it is. I look at the phone. Ain't no switches lit up. I was like, what the fuck? I pick up the phone. Boo, dial tone. I hang the phone up. I was like, what the fuck? I go to the door. Locked. They locked me in. Mm-hmm. Because they were listening to my phone calls with my wife.
Yep.
And they knew what was going on. And they didn't want me to go around and
get everybody else
out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm in here. Now I'm going ham. Now it's street mode.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm hitting the door with every piece of furniture in there, every monitor, everything. I literally barricaded myself in there. I was like, these people going to kill me. I'm in Battle Creek, Michigan. They're going to put me out back somewhere.
Yep.
And bury me, and that's gonna be the last anybody heard of me. I was like, not me. I ain't going out like that. Mm-hmm. So they sent.
I'll say it again. Fuck Scientology.
Yes, they sent the janitor, who was one of the coolest guys in there, to come let me out. Yeah. And I was like, dude, you lucky it's you.
Yeah.
You lucky it's you that's let me out, because my plan was the first person that opened that door was catching it.
The other people are all in the back hiding.
Yeah.
They're not the type of people.
So they had packed my stuff up. They had packed Lisa's stuff up. They locked Lisa in another room. Mm-hmm. They had her locked up too. They let us both out. They packed our stuff, had it in the van, and drove us to a motel. Gave us $10 each. They selling crack out front of the motel.
You know what's fucked up is I had like a similar situation in Memphis happen to me where I was like, this place is weird. It wasn't Scientology.
No.
But it was similar. And like, as soon as I was like, I'm going to leave because I don't feel like, they just kick you to the curb and treat you like trash. Mm-hmm. They're like, we'll see you again.
Well, they kept talking about this guy, L. Ron Hubbard.
Yes,
I didn't know
did.
I didn't know about L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, I can tell you so much about L.
Him
Ron.
all over,
of course.
Right? And I'm like, who's this dude?
Wait.
And they're like, that's L. Ron Hubbard. He's our founder. He's a founder of Scientology. I was like, well, what happened to him? Oh, he died of an overdose. I was like, what?
Probably on his amazing yacht in the
What are
ocean.
you talking about? They're like, yeah, he died of an overdose.
Yeah, sort of. There's a little bit more to it, but yeah.
I think he transcended.
Oh, God. That's...
But another thing was...
You should watch that documentary, Surviving Scientology, with Leah Remini, the chick from King
I
Queen.
watched some of it.
Dude, it's
I know.
so fucked up. So fucked up.
So... And another thing I noticed in this rehab, that all these people, all my counselors and all them, they all look like they was high.
Really?
Probably were.
And I was like, how long have you been clean? You're my counselor. Oh, I've been 6 months. I just graduated. I was like, so everybody that just graduated runs this place? Mm-hmm. And all y'all, I was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Got to get up out of here. Mm-hmm. And
it's like a breeding.
So you're at the motel, $10. You're selling crack out front.
Right. So I made a wise decision. I went to the Friendly's restaurant. Me and Lisa went to Friendly's. Lisa was hungry. She got food, and I used my money to buy a drink to calm my nerves. And I told my wife, the cab came and picked me up, drove us to the airport, and I flew to Philadelphia. My wife picked me up. Lisa went somewhere. I don't even know. I've never seen Lisa since that day.
Yeah.
Where was she from? Did you know?
I can't remember, man. Okay. But
Lisa, if you're out there, contact us.
We hugged.
Yeah.
Me and Lisa hugged. I wished her good luck. She thanked me for getting her out of there. Her mom had got her a plane to another rehab too.
Yep.
My wife picked me up and took me to Bowling Green in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And I wasn't ready to get clean. I played the thing. I knew I was getting high as soon as I got out. You know, and that continued, that cycle of rehabs, getting out, getting high, rehabs, getting out, getting high. I told you I was a truck driver. So my last day using, I lived in Finksburg, and the industrial park was right next to my house. Like literally, I could see my truck through the woods. Mm-hmm. That's how close it was, right? I had forced my wife to give me every dollar she had, which was $300. I remember it to this day. She said, "Look, take this $300." There was no more fight in her. Mm-hmm. She was done. She said, "Take this $300. I wish you luck, but you're not allowed back here. Leave and don't come back." And I was like, whatever, man. I'm gonna go smoke this crack up and I'll be right back. Mm-hmm. Wasn't happening. When I got back, she would not let me in. She said she called the police, and so I slept in my car that night. And I didn't have any gas because I used all the gas running back and forth from Finksburg to Baltimore to get crack.
Yeah, it happens. Only enough gas to get from
there
and back.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
You calculated. You're like, I need exactly 40% of a tank.
Yeah, not even that. Shoot, I would
25%.
I could
maybe.
go if
from Finksburg to Baltimore.
If I
I know what kind of
my
car
caravan, with the light on. If the light just came on, I could make it to Baltimore and back, and it still wouldn't run out of gas.
Really?
Yep. So I knew if I get it. As soon as the light go out, ding, that's it. That's all I need.
Finksburg is like deceptively closer to Baltimore
than
I think it is.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I told you I was driving a truck, and I was stealing shit off the back of that truck during the day. I would go see the crack man in the morning. I would drive this truck all day long, smoking crack, making deliveries, and selling some of the shit. And then I would get more crack on the way home. Once I dropped the truck off, I got my night. So the next morning, I'm sleeping. That night, I'm sleeping in my car, and I just got emotional. I started crying. I was like, God, I can't. Please help me, man. I cannot do this by myself. I don't want to live like this no more. And I walked to work, across the bridge. I walked to work, and I got to work, and my boss pulled me in the office. She said, "Do you have a drug problem?" I said, "What? Who? Me?"
Yeah.
No. She said, "Well, look, we've been watching you. We know you've been stealing stuff off the truck. We and if you have a problem, we'll help you." And I blew up, man, fuck you. She said, "Well, get all your stuff and leave." And as I'm walking back across the bridge, this is when my first spiritual awakening came in my life. I said, God, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now I can't go get no more crack. Now I'm stuck. I ain't got no job. Mm-hmm. I asked for help. And you helped me, just not in the way I wanted.
Yep.
But I see what you did there, and I think it's time for me to go to treatment. And by this time, I had been introduced to Narcotics Anonymous, and I was going to meetings, and that's my program. Mm-hmm. That's what I use. I support all paths to recovery. Anything that you're doing to better your life.
Except Scientology. Fuck you.
Yeah, not Scientology.
that's
not Scientology. That's just a money grab. It did cost my wife $15,000 though.
Well, L. Ron Hubbard
to send me there.
All about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I called. I had a sponsor at the time. I called him. I said, "Yo, I think I need to go to rehab." And he said, "No shit." And I remember him saying that, and I was like, "You asshole!" Like you know. And he said, "Look, call Mountain Manor. Ask for Miss Debbie." And I said, "Well." He said, "You still got insurance for the next 30 days. They just fired you. You still can use your insurance." And I was like, he's like, "Call the insurance company." So I called the insurance company. And this is the difference where taking responsibility for my own recovery came in. Is now my wife didn't find these rehabs and send me there. Mm-hmm. I made the choice myself. I made the phone calls myself. I called the insurance company. And here's another spiritual awakening. As soon as I asked the lady for a list of places, the first place on the list was Mountain Manor. I said, "Oh shit, that's a sign right there." Mm-hmm. Mountain Manor it is. I'm going to Mountain Manor. So I went to Mountain Manor in Emmitsburg, and it was just different this time in rehab, man. Mm-hmm. was just done. I I was surrendered. I am going to, I had this place. There was this place I called Relapse Gazebo. It was right outside of
the smoking hut.
Yeah.
Everybody's hanging out,
Yeah.
just telling war stories.
I call it Relapse Gazebo right there.
Yeah.
Right outside the kitchen, right outside.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I used to walk all the way around to the new one they had over there at the new building, and I used to sit over there by myself. And for like the first 3 days, I sit over there by myself. I read my books, and then until I start studying some of my whatever they call it, your plan, some stuff, and then people started coming over there with me, and one of them is still my friend to this day, man. Me and him.
What's the first name? Give him a shout out.
Floyd, my man Floyd.
Hell yeah, Floyd.
He actually came to my 12-year anniversary this year. It was really good, man.
Hell yeah.
And that's my road dog, man. When we got out, and this is. So I went to numerous 30-day programs, but this program only allowed me. I told you, October 18th, 2011 was my clean date. Well, I got out on Halloween, and I had a 5-year-old and I had a 7-year-old. And my wife said, "Good, you're getting out on Halloween. You get to, we can go take the kids trick or treating."
Nah.
Miss Patty, I don't know if you know Miss Patty. She was my counselor. She said, "Ron, 68% of the people that go to a meeting on their first night stay clean." So I told my wife, I said, Miss Patty said 68% of the people who go to a meeting on their first night stay clean. I'm sorry it's Halloween. I'm sorry, but I can't go trick-or-treating with you. I have to go to a meeting. And my wife said she knew right then and there that this was different.
This is different. Yep.
Yeah.
She knew right then and there that I was putting recovery first. And I said there will be plenty more Halloweens.
Yeah.
Was she happy about that decision?
She was.
At the time, or was it like
At the time,
afterwards?
at the time,
It was probably bittersweet.
at the
Yeah.
time she was happy. She was apprehensive because she'd been through it before,
Yeah.
But she said something was different in how I was something was different in me. She could tell that something was different in me, that I was more focused on myself, and and through the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous and my higher power and my network of amazing men I have in my life, Dave is one of them. I have not found a need to use anyone or anything in 12 years.
Yeah.
And I swear, man, it's cliche. You hear it every time, but every year my life has gotten better and better and better. And I've gotten better. And yes, I have stumbled. I haven't used, but I've done some things that were unspiritual, and I will bring this up to show that I'm still human. I'm still learning, but I'm learning from my mistakes, and I don't repeat them today. I might make mistakes. So I was in Vegas. I have horses. Black man from DC owning horses. Who would have thought, right?
You race the horse?
No, I
Or
don't
you
race.
breed?
I barely ride them, but I ride them. Yeah, but I have a horse. My wife has a horse. My wife is into barrel racing.
Oh, nice.
I just,
Barrel racing's fucking cool.
I support
I
her.
don't know what that is. I don't think.
They do a pattern around the barrels.
the pattern.
And it's
And
fast
it
as
is
you can.
fast. It is
Yeah.
fast, dude. Yeah.
like kind of like a dog type
Sort of.
maze?
Sort of,
but
yeah.
for
But
horses?
you're riding. You're
You're riding
horse.
fast. You're
Yeah.
riding fast.
Really? And your
Yeah.
wife does that?
And
Well,
like the side of the horse is right on that barrel too.
Yeah, she's training to do that.
Yeah.
She hasn't competed yet, but she's training to do that. And we go to competitions, and there we went to Vegas for the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo.
Rad.
And it's a big thing. Vegas is just all cowboyed
Yeah.
out,
Oh, yeah.
and they got like vendors. Every convention center got vendors. Well, I'm a Raiders fan. Raiders just so happened to be playing the Vikings that week.
Nice.
And I was like, shit, I'm going to Vikings. I'm going to the game.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So I took my sponsor, shout out Will V.
Isn't he celebrating soon?
Yep, next weekend, 30
Yeah,
years, buddy.
30 years.
Damn.
That's amazing.
30 years. The 16th, next Friday.
I'll get him on this podcast. I need to. He's freaking amazing.
Absolutely. We'll get him on.
He'll get on for sure.
I told my wife, I said, me and the sponsor going to the Raiders game. She was like, cool, just leave me the credit card. I'm going shopping. And I was like, okay, go ahead, go do what you want.
Yep.
So we're at the games, the Vikings Raiders, and it was a sorry game. It was 0-0, friggin' the first half. You know, punt, 3 and out. So there's 2 Viking fans behind me, and they were jawing. They couldn't really jaw because
they suck too.
You can't really say much. Who's got the better punter? Like, hey, he kicked it 65 yards better than yours. Yours they only did 50.
Have you seen this field position battle we have today here?
Right,
it's a chess match.
It couldn't have been really. It wasn't really much jawing. It was just a little banter. But I seen them coming back at halftime, and they had 2 beers in their hand, both of them, and they were sitting directly behind me. And I've been on enough football games. I know they filling beers to the top.
Oh, yeah.
They're spilling beer all up the steps, right? And I was like, I hope they spill enough that when they get up here, they won't spill none.
You were looking for it.
As soon as they sat down, dude, beer just all over me and my sponsor. And I was like, oh, God. And I was like, before, the old me would have been popping right then
Fight
and there.
on sight. Yep.
Right then and there.
David was looking for this 2 weeks ago.
What?
Because we lost.
The
Ravens lost.
Still too soon.
So I, my sponsor's like, it's just beer. Mm-hmm. You can wash it out. Mm-hmm. No need to, And I was like, you know what? You're right. But my head, I'm festering now.
Oh, yeah.
I got this whole big ass cup of soda sitting in front of me. And I'm like, I'm getting ready to just turn it around, throw this on this dude. And I'm about to say, it's just soda. Right?
Yeah.
But my sponsor said, they started laughing.
Yeah.
And my sponsor turned around and he said, instead of laughing, because he's spiritual, instead of laughing, an apology will go a long way, right? Mm-hmm. To make everything better. Nope. Fuck you.
Really?
Asshole. Fuck you, bitch. You ain't gonna do shit.
Yeah.
All this other stuff. Do something about it. And I was like, oh,
Viking
I can see how this is going to end up. And right then and there, this is where I've learned from. Right then and there, I should have removed myself from the situation because I knew what was going to happen. I knew me. I tried to remove myself from the situation because they kicked a field goal with a minute left in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. My quarterback threw in an interception. I said, oh, game's over. Let's go. Come on, Will. Let's get our stuff and let's go. I'm trying to get out of here before they can say anything. As soon as I stood up, they stood up. Fuck you. Bye, bitch. Bye, bye, bye. All in my face. Now he's leaning over in my face, right? And I'm like, dude, sit down. Like, it's not even worth it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just a game.
It's just
like,
a game.
what are you doing? Like,
how young were they?
They were
like 30s or 20s?
30s.
30s,
yeah.
like early, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, my sponsor's 70 and I'm 55. And they're like, but you don't know, we from Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We from Baltimore, bro. Like, sit down, have a seat, man. Kept on going. My sponsor, come on, let's go. And I was like, nah, man, this is what he wants. This is what he gonna get.
Yep.
And this is where the unspiritual part of me came, because I stepped up where they were at. And I got up with him and I said, maybe if I get up closer to him and he sees like I'm not no bitch.
Playing. Yeah.
I'm not playing. He'll back down. And I said, look, dude, like, just have a seat. We're leaving. We don't want any problems. We don't leave. I know you don't want any problems, bitch. Do something about it. And I was like, okay. So I kind of smushed him. I didn't hit him. Mm-hmm. I just pushed him out my way, right? Because I was trying to leave. And then he swung at me, right? And I was like, oh, that's my end.
Yep.
That's my end.
We're here now.
We're here now. So I ended up breaking his jaw and his nose, and I broke my hand, right?
You won. I know that's terrible to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's terrible to say. But this is where the spiritual and the part of me, because after it was over and they freaking carried him out, now I'm scared I'm going to get locked up in Vegas. Mm-hmm.
They have cameras. They saw the interaction, right?
I don't know. I dipped. His friends carried him to the bathroom. I was covered in blood, and I told my sponsor, let's go, and we left, and we walked as far as we could away from the stadium, and then we got an Uber and we met my wife where they were shopping at, and they said, and then I broke down. I started crying. I hugged her and I just leaned on her shoulder and I started crying because he brought something out of me that I hadn't been in many, many years. And I've worked so hard not to be.
Yep.
You know? And I felt bad. And that's where my recovery comes. I felt bad that I hurt him like that. You know what I mean? Even though he was asking for it. Even though he deserved it.
He was asking for it.
Yeah.
I felt bad that I did it. You know?
Yep.
And that's where recovery, because I don't want to hurt people today.
Yeah.
I've hurt so many people in my life. I feel like I'm getting emotional now. Like, I've hurt so many people in my life. Today, I dedicate my life to helping people, you know, and that's what I do for a living. And they, you know,
There's weird alpha bro shit though that people do at games. Like
my
dad was
in
at a,
recovery. I've punched 2 people in Raven Stadium.
well, I know my dad was at a game and like the dude.
oh, you make me feel so much better.
No,
the
this
one
happened
full
one
on
time this
deserved
year,
it. He
too.
pushed my 65-year-old mom to the ground.
There you go.
I was like, "You're fucking getting it." I
There
was
you
like,
go.
"Nope, this is happening." I was like, "You're fucking done."
Right.
And well, what was hilarious? It was a Patriots fan, dude. He had 3 boys with him. They did not a
He deserved
fucking
it.
thing.
Patriots fans
not a
deserve it.
fucking thing.
It can happen though. Like
He
the
didn't-
games can happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Well,
the
anytime you
Steelers
mention-
fan did not deserve it anyway whatsoever.
That's
And-
your.
and I
That's David being.
that was
David.
me just being a piece
Well,
of
anytime
shit.
you mix alcohol with testosterone,
And all
that's
that
what you end up
competition,
with.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
And-
what you end up
Yeah,
with.
exactly.
know?
But yeah, us being clean, like our whole mind go like we're not that person anymore. But like, yeah, we make mistakes and you
Right.
know,
And what I learned from that was that I should have removed myself or got somebody else involved, like security, and said, "Hey, if you don't remove these guys, I'm telling you now, it's going to end up
there's
bad
going to be a fight
for them." You know, and I hope, like I told myself, I pray that he learned his lesson. That he learns from this. You know, drink it through a straw for a while, teach you something. You know,
Yeah.
I learned, that I should remove myself because now I had to have surgery and broke my hand and all this stuff. And I learned,
No one won.
no one won.
Right.
Nope, nobody won that.
right.
All right. Well, we definitely got some questions for you.
Oh, yeah, let's get to them. I know I
Eric,
can
you
talk.
want to go first?
Do we want to do the fun ones first? or do we want to do the serious ones
let's
first?
knock out the fun ones first.
Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we do my fun one first? Or
Start
your
with
first
yours.
one?
Start with
Okay,
yours.
so we both have Raiders questions. So you became a fan when the Raiders were in LA.
Yep.
But let's be real, everyone thinks of the Raiders from Oakland. But you've been to Vegas, where I think the Raiders, we were talking before the podcast, I think the Raiders belong in Vegas because like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? If
I've
any
been to
team's
Oakland,
gonna
too.
be in Vegas.
I've been to Oakland too, Raiders game. But
But Oakland's like the A's are leaving. Like everybody's leaving.
The A's are
Oakland,
going to Vegas, too?
Yeah, and like Golden State already dipped.
The city of Oakland
like
is fucked up.
Like
bro.
Golden
Yeah.
State dipped.
Golden
like
State
they already
dipped. They
dipped.
lost the Raiders.
So where do you believe the Raiders' true home is?
their true home, I believe, was L.A., the Coliseum.
Right? Yeah, I told you, man. It's LA.
They will always be
It's
the Oakland
LA.
Raiders to me.
L.A. was. That's when Raiders were.
They had Bo Jackson. They had
Yeah, man.
and
I cried when Bo
Bo-
Jackson went out.
Yeah, man.
When he fell, I was watching that game,
Bo
man.
knows.
When he got tackled by the
Bo knows.
Cincinnati,
That's true. Bo
that
knows.
thing- oh man.
dude,
But-
I just think Oakland Raiders. I think it flows better. Like it just sounds better.
but LA was when they were good.
They were good in Oakland.
They were good, but like LA, like they had a different attitude in
Yeah.
LA.
It was.
They
I
did.
mean, yeah.
You know?
It's 3 different eras. I mean,
Because like that was when Howie Long was there too, right?
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that's how he
Alzado.
got. Yeah.
That
But I
was
mean-
the Raiders. Cliff Branch,
yeah,
Jack Tatum. Come
yeah.
on, man.
Marcus Allen.
No, that's but I think
Well, now Jack Tatum was in Oakland. Jack Tatum was 70s.
70s, 80s. I guess he went into 80s probably.
okay.
Probably went
Jack,
into 80s.
Jack Tatum was definitely
probably both.
he was 70s Oakland Raiders
yeah.
with John Madden for
I
sure.
met him. I met Jack Tatum. I met Cliff
Dope.
Branch. I think right now, man, Raiders are Antonio Pierce.
He's cool. I like him.
Great
He
decision. Great
is
decision.
a Raider.
I
like that dude.
I loved him when he played. He
Yeah.
knows how to play the game. Great decision.
Yeah.
And Max Crosby, one of us.
Yeah. Yes.
Max
absolutely.
Crosby, somehow, if you hear this, come on, podcast recovery,
Absolutely.
bro. We'll have you on.
Absolutely.
Waller's not on the team anymore, but he's also.
Yeah, Waller.
Waller.
Waller was one of us.
Yeah.
He was a Raven and a
He
Raider.
was a Raven.
Waller
Yep.
helped Crosby get into recovery.
No, yeah, I saw that
Really?
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
I read that
That's
story.
awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. And that segues perfectly to, and we're all going to answer this one. Who is your favorite Raider of all time?
It would have to be the assassin, Jack Tatum.
100%. Me too. Yep. The assassin, Jack Tatum. Dude.
He was just mean, dude.
He's
just a mean dude.
The one quote he said, like, still just, it gives me goosebumps. I want my hits to border on felonious assault. I was like, yo! Like, this dude is playing the game.
Press charges against me afterwards.
Yeah. Well, he played linebacker at Ohio State, and then Madden was like, nah, you're playing safety. And so he was playing safety with that linebacker mentality. He was like, I'm going to hit you with everything I have. And I think he's by far the most feared person to ever step on a football field. Who do you got, Eric? Favorite Raider of all time?
I think it's between Davis and Madden. I really do.
Okay.
Because I like.
That's fair.
I mean, Madden is so influential.
Oh, John
absolutely.
John Madden's a legend.
Like, I played Madden, I think, every day for like over a decade when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like
he brought football to a whole new medium.
Oh, absolutely.
and Davis was just a badass.
Oh yeah, Al Davis.
Davis was such a badass.
He revolutionized.
He was just like,
was?
I don't fucking give a shit. I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
He held on to the team a little too long, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I don't. In the latter years,
yeah.
he definitely.
He was a little bit senile.
He definitely was.
Like-
I went to the
Like in the 70s when he was drafting like the fastest wide receiver possible, and then he saw Darius Hayward Bay, and he was like, "This guy's gonna be amazing." And it's
Jamarcus
like,
Russell
bro,
was a bad one too.
Yeah.
So, story. My first Oakland Raiders game was me and my wife flew to San Fran. We were going to do the whole San Francisco, but I went to the Raiders game
Yeah.
because she's a Redskins fan, season ticket holder. Well, she was. She got rid of them once they
Yeah,
became the Commanders. But
smart decision.
we played. Jamarcus Russell was in there. No, Bruce Gronkowski
I remember
Okay,
Bruce
yeah.
Frankowski.
was playing. Right, he started the game, but they ended up twisting his ankle, and they put Jamarcus Russell in there. And I have never heard a stadium boo their starting quarterback.
He was so bad.
Loud in my life.
bad.
But I was on a plane with one of the trainers, Raiders trainers, and he was telling me, you know, Jamarcus Russell's got a codeine problem, and I said, what? He said the locker room just gave up on him. They don't care. His offensive line will not block. They don't care. He's sipping codeine.
Oh,
And he's got
that makes a lot of sense.
he's got a codeine problem. So I was like, oh man, I was still in active addiction then. So
Yeah, you were like, yeah,
You're like lean.
good
I
for
was
him.
like, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know.
Addiction in football players is huge.
Well, yeah, they used to have all the pills and
Yeah,
stuff.
and the
they've
NFL
lobbied
does
for,
not talk about it.
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
talk about it.
Brett Favre. I'm shocked when he came out and
he's
said,
had a few stints.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, to the real questions.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I
Yep,
think,
take it away.
actually. So, I guess I like my questions. You know, we're gonna go back all the way to the beginning of being adopted, because I want, like, my wife and I actually want to adopt a kid one day. So like we've thought about this, and like I've always thought about going in with the mindset of like, you know, you're chosen. But that fucked you up. So, but I think there's context there too, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
You can't
but,
tell them they came from an egg.
You know, you can't say you're from an egg. You know.
So my parents were not emotionally there for me.
So they just wanted a
Available.
kid to have a kid.
So this is what happened, and I found this out years later after having talks with my mom. Is that my mom and my father were having problems.
oh,
They
you were the
adopted me
solution.
to be the solution, right? So there was never, like, I tell my wife, I don't remember one time my father told me he loved me. I don't,
Yeah.
you know.
That's
I remember my mom telling me she loved me, but my mom also had a mental health disorder. She was manic depressive, so she was always on Valiums or something. So neither one of my parents were emotionally available to even deal with telling me how this adoption and everything works. That I was, you know. And so when you become a fix in somebody's life and that fix doesn't work,
yeah.
because they still had problems.
Well, because you said you were in a group home too, like later.
Well, I was in a
that's
group
like
home because the judge sentenced me to the group home.
okay, so
Yeah.
you weren't like you
Yeah.
didn't like dip. They didn't like.
Well, yeah, they did.
They did.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I was so bad, my parents couldn't handle me anymore.
that's fucked up.
That they, my mom she told me, and I tell this story. She told me we were going to Roy Rogers because that was my favorite. We were going to Roy Rogers, but we had to stop at the courthouse first. That's okay. So I think I was like 14, 15. I was smoking PCP. I was lunching, and skipping school. Like I think I've been kicked out of 3 high schools. I was just
3 high schools at 14. That is rough.
well right after my last high school was the one when I hurt my leg. They allowed me to play football, which was crazy. But we went in there. She said, just have a seat. I had a seat on the bench, and she went in the back, and then she came back, and there was these big ass security with her, right? And they told me to stand up, and they cuffed me up, and I'm like, the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And yeah, they sent me to a psychiatric ward, and then from the psychiatric ward, I went to the group home. And from the group home, I ran away, and that started that whole
Oklahoma trip.
Yep. That was not the first trip I had. I ran away to Florida because they had a place called a Covenant House where runaway teens could come stay for free.
Huh.
Yeah, it was, and it didn't matter where you came from. If you ran away from home and you called your parents and told them you were there, you could stay there for free. And you were in a hotel room, and you had to get out and get a job, and
That's pretty cool.
they fed
actually.
you.
Huh.
And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale?
That's not bad.
Walking up and down the
Lauderdale's fun.
strip. And,
Yeah.
and
I can see that being both a good idea and a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has good and bad consequence. That's hard, dude. There's
that
a lot
was
of
my-
abandonment, like that, like you already it was like already like sus,
Yeah. Then your mom has you locked up.
That's fucked,
Yeah.
dude. It's fucked.
That'll fuck you up.
Oh, they sent me to Sykesville, Muncie Center.
Oh shit.
That's the psychiatric ward I went to.
Yeah.
Wait.
From the
Okay.
jail.
The one like across the street from where I used to live, that big place.
I think so.
Yeah.
Springfield.
Yeah, dude. I used
Yeah.
to live across the street from there.
Yeah, Muncie Center.
Yeah.
Yep. There's some real kids with some real problems in there.
I think
Let
I
me just say,
spoke.
Oh, yeah.
I was not one of them.
Did they have
Yeah.
H&I there too? Is there H&I? I think I spoke there once.
I don't know.
Yeah, RSS.
Yeah, I think I spoke there with Zach.
Yeah, there's long-term Mountain Manor long-term programs there. So Shoemaker is in, both of them are on there.
All right. What question am I going with? All right. How detrimental was it? Kind of, because you said you were an athletic kid, like having that injury and losing that sports identity. Because I'm sure that kept you on the level to a degree.
Yeah.
And once you lost that, was it just kind of like off to the races from there?
Absolutely. I stopped caring about school. I stopped caring about everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, after I stopped caring about everything, the substance use just became more prevalent.
Mm-hmm. Because I really feel like kids in high school, kids in general, when they have things to do, I just don't think it gives them that extra time to get into trouble. Like my 3 nieces are they're in drama, volleyball, and gymnastics, and they've been that way since they were young. And they're perfect kids. Like they're always just so busy going to doing plays, tournaments, stuff like that. That I don't know. I just think it's really pivotal for kids to have that sort of accountability and structure towards where they're going. And also, how have you implemented that with your kids?
So both my sons were, they athletic.
Mm-hmm.
They played football and basketball growing up from a young age, but they, kids nowadays, they don't have that drive that I had. Like I would be practice. I want to get better. I want to keep getting better. And my kids just didn't have that desire. They didn't have that drive. So they eventually just stopped playing sports, video games and social media. And isolation became what they wanted to
Norm.
do.
Yeah, just normal.
And that's, a lot of that COVID really made that bad.
Do they play Fortnite? I don't know how old they are, but I'm guessing.
Well, they're not kids. No, when I say kids, they're 20 and 17.
Well, no, but that's the age range, right? Where like, because I don't understand it. They'll just hang out like in a game, but not play the game.
Oh, like the kids who like watch the streamers.
No,
and
not
stuff like that.
Twitch. I get Twitch. Like, I finally get it. But
I don't
like,
get that. Watching somebody play a video game, like
My
that's
son does that too, and I'm coming. I'm
that's
like, "What are you doing?" I'm watching him play the
Watching
game.
Why don't you play the game?
Minecraft,
Then
dude.
why don't you fucking play the game? No, like hell no, no. I was getting high, fucking
Yeah,
playing Madden 2003 with Michael Vick running around in circles, making everybody look stupid. It was so good.
Well, that's the good thing about my kids, that they grew up in the rooms. Mm-hmm. Like I said, they're 20 and 17. So for the last 12
they
years,
were like 9.
they would go.
6,
they would go to meetings with me all the time. Mm-hmm. So they gain that support like I gain that support. Mm-hmm. I have sponsorship meetings at my house, and they're always there. They know everybody in my sponsorship family. My sponsorship family knows them. My youngest son, my oldest son calls my sponsor like his grandfather, because my dad's dead and my wife's father has passed away. So he's like his grandfather now,
Yeah.
But as we heal in recovery, so's our family, and he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do anything. And in a way, it's weird to say. In a way, I'm like, I want him to experience like that part of being a kid, being
yeah, like going to a
it's
field
not all-
party.
It's
and
not
like
all end
making
up
a mistake.
homeless in a fucking underneath a bridge like I did.
Yeah,
no.
It doesn't all get to that point.
No, some
I'd
people.
say most
some
of them
people can-
did not end up
Right.
there.
Yeah,
Most people-
I mean,
right.
yeah, my wife, like, she smoked pot 3 times. She was like, I got hungry and tired, and I just didn't see the point of it, so I never did it again.
Right.
And like, she would go out and like she got drunk a few times, and she was like, I don't really like this. And every once in a while, she'll have a glass of wine or two. Like, my wife, it's just not a thing. But yeah, every once in a while, she's like, yeah, I want a glass of wine. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, do you?
My oldest son was so against it, like during his homecoming and during his prom and his graduation, like all his friends, that's all they did. They wanted to go to parties, get drunk, smoke weed.
That's what I did.
And
Yeah.
he used to be, and that's,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's the norm. And he's
Yeah.
like, I don't understand why they do it. It's so stupid. And I'm like, that's the norm. Like, I am the ad norm.
Well, isn't
don't
there
think everybody's going to end
a
up like me.
contingent though of kids that don't do it as much now? Like, I feel like it's less than our, like your age or our generation.
I don't know.
He
Like-
would know.
So my son has a hard time finding friends that
Really?
still don't do it,
Yeah. If
Yeah.
he's 20, I mean, yeah.
Right.
At that point, almost everyone's drinking. They're about to be.
But he had a close-knit group of friends that he grew up with. They call them the Bra Squad. There was their little clique. And he's only one of them he's friends with now. Because the rest of them just go out and smoke and drink and off to college and
Yeah.
have just become total
Yeah.
potheads and,
But like that's what like reinforced it in my mind, like how addicts are weird, different than we're just wired different. Like it's not
Right.
it's not the drugs and the alcohol that's the fucking
Problem.
necessarily the problem.
Right.
It's the individual who uses those things and creates a problem with them. And it's not just drugs and alcohol, it's women, it's sex, it's
shopping.
it's gambling, it's shopping,
Tennis shoes.
it's whatever.
I still use it.
Overeating, like and like there's nothing anything wrong with women or sex or gambling, but
sex.
yeah, I like it. It's great. Awesome. One of my favorite things in life. But like different, like I don't have a sex addiction. There are people out there who do. Like they it's compulsivity and the selfishness that leads to unmanageability.
I think when it becomes a coping mechanism,
Exactly. Yep.
that's when it becomes a problem. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? When you start using these things, sex, drug, and to cope with the emotions and the feelings that you're dealing with, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
And the biggest like flip of the script for my recovery, like I came in thinking I had a drug problem, and the reality was I had a David problem, and drugs were my fucking were trying to what I was trying to solve it with.
Right. I the exact words I always say when I share to people or wherever, that I didn't have a drug problem. I had a Ron problem. Drugs were just the only solutions I knew to my problem.
Yeah.
Today I have different solutions, positive solutions to some of the same problems. Getting fired from a job or whatever it may be. I've only gotten fired once in recovery, and that was working at a treatment center. A young man called me the N-word, and
Nope.
and that was
You got fired?
Yeah, because I chased him down the hallway and put hands on him, so to speak.
Touched him, okay.
Yeah, so
you
to
can't
touch.
touch.
No.
Yeah,
It's like Arrested Development, touching.
I put hands on him, so yeah.
Sorry, that kid deserved it.
He did.
Kid 100% deserved
But
it.
to be honest,
But
to be honest,
it's
he is still
same thing as the Vikings
he's still
fan.
one of my good friends today.
Really?
We've talked. We talked, and that's what recovery. We talked. It was a moment. You know, I apologized for putting my hands on him. He apologized for saying that, and he's still one of my biggest supporters, and I'm still one of his biggest supporters. And he was in treatment, and that was 3 years ago, maybe like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And he's got 3 years clean. He's got a wife. He's got kids.
That's great.
He's doing amazing, you know. So, you know, it just goes to show. And he says,
we can't always judge people by their darkest
and
chapter.
he says, and I used to always talk to him about, like, you know, what he was doing wrong, what I suggested he should do better. And he said a lot of that I remembered, and a lot of that helped me along, even after, you know, we had our differences. He said those things still resonated in my head, and I thought, hey, Ron, I remember what Ron said about this. I need to, you know, so, you know, yeah, man, that's what I do, man. My job is very, very stressful.
Oh, yeah.
I don't envy that.
Yeah, it's
What you got, Eric?
My question?
oh yeah.
I have a few questions. I'm really curious about the relationship with your wife, though.
Okay.
Because you're still with your wife.
Yep.
She's stuck with you,
30 years.
man. Like, and I feel like there was a few parts in your story where you're like, I got a bunch of crack, I got a party behind me, like, you know, there's not, like, your wife and the kids are back home, so I'm sure things got a little wild. Like, relationships are fucking hard. They're hard, dude.
They are.
And there's, like, a lot of scar tissue that builds up from all of, like, the mistakes we make throughout. Like, how do you guys cope with that? And, like, how do you stay
process,
and how do you stay
a lot of
partners, you know, instead of enemies? Because there's parts in that where you become, like, kind of enemies.
Well,
You know?
a lot of that was her. She said, you know, that she did some counseling and did some things that taught her about the disease of addiction and who I am. One thing she says is she remembers that clearly, that when she came into a room, the teacher came in the room and he wrote a circle in red. And he put an eyes and a nose and a mouth with a frowny face. And he wrote a circle in blue. And he wrote an eyes and nose and a mouth with a smiley face. And he said, this is your spouse or your husband or your son on drugs, the red one with the frowny face. This is them when they're not on drugs. They're the same people, but they're not. They're different people when they're using than when they're not using. And my wife said that she always kept in her mind that is not who I was and who she married. And she knew that the person I was when she met me and married me was in there. We just had to figure a way to get the drugs and everything out, and that person would shine, which is what has happened. And yeah, like every relationship, we have problems. Today, we don't yell at each other. We talk like normal people.
I know, it's so weird. Like when I got clean and like actually like obviously now have a wife and everything, but like had relationships with women, and like you talk about or even friendships, like because we're dudes, like sometimes we beef with other
I feel
dudes.
like you had a tumultuous relationship once though in recovery.
Very much.
Yeah.
But there was still never like. But when I was using volume would escalate. Things.
There
would,
is
things
one
would get
relationship
thrown.
you had. I know she was a crazy one. So.
Yeah, I had many lamps thrown at me in that one.
Yeah,
but like it never
wild.
got to that. So in recovery, it like our behaviors change, and we have that ability to like I'll get mad at my wife, and I'm like, right now is not the time to talk about this.
Right.
And like it may take me a few hours. Sometimes it's taken me a couple days to like let me process this. Let me talk to my sponsor about how I can process this.
Yeah.
And then like you can say what you mean, but not say it meanly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And because we can just exponentially like make the damage a lot worse just by the way we say things.
Yeah. And a lot of the way I used to communicate with my wife was how I learned, and we learned these things from our parents. Subconsciously, like I learned these things as my dad used to yell at my mother all the time. That's how I'm supposed to speak to my wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You learn these things, not saying that they're necessarily the right way to do it. I had to learn new ways to communicate, and in recovery, that's that's what I learned to do.
That's interesting that you said like you learned from your parents. Like, was there? Because I feel like for me, I don't know about probably for you too, David. Because like you have a certain like there was just this. I didn't want to be like my parents and how they treated me. Like I was so, and my sister's the same way. Like it's just like. Yeah, you did what you did. Like, yeah, great job, whatever. We all made it out.
Yeah,
but like, there's a lot of improvements, and I want to make sure I do that.
Right.
So like, and I'm sorry I jumped.
No.
But like, do you think about that like at all? Like as like a parent, where it's
absolutely.
just like I don't want to be like
how
that,
to raise a different man.
know?
Absolutely, man. And I struggle with that because with my sons, especially because they're boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you're a dad, so
and
Boys are great though.
yeah,
I love wrestling with my sons. It's so much fun.
They're boys and they have feelings and they have emotions and they have things too. It can't be like, do this because I said do it because I'm your father.
Yeah.
That's how I was raised. You know what I mean? And if you don't do it, you're going to get your ass
hit.
beat.
Yep.
Yeah.
The part I took away was I don't hit my kids.
Yeah.
But I still demonstrate those same demanding and, I'm the man of the house. You should do this and do that. And let's face it, kids nowadays, they soft. They are soft. Like, why are you yelling at me? You're hurting my feelings.
Yeah.
And, and I just want to be like, man up. Like, stop.
Yeah.
But I got to understand that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Your feelings matter.
Yeah.
My son's feelings matter. And I have to understand that his feelings matter. And I have to take it down a notch and be willing to listen to him.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't agree with it, but it's not for me to agree with.
Yeah.
It's what he's going through. And I have to let him go through that.
Yeah.
That's rad, dude.
And so that like I want to answer that as well. So like I was actually just going through this with one of my sponsees. His very first assignment was going through the triangle of self-obsession,
Yes,
anger, fear, and resentment. And a lesson I learned from my brother-in-law, like because he has 3 sons, like he was like, once they were old enough, he was like right around somewhere between like 9 and 12 when they could like really like understand themselves. He really explained to them, he's like, I'm not your friend. Like, I'm your fucking dad. Like, I'm getting you prepared for a life where most people don't give a fuck about you, like, as an individual. Like, I'm preparing you to be an individual human being and have your own strengths and all that. But, like, how that ties in, like, with the triangle of self-obsession, I feel like, I've in my generation, we had a lot of those, like, repressed feelings, like you're not supposed to feel angry, you're not supposed to feel jealousy and this and that, and I was telling my sponsor, it was like, you're allowed to feel those feelings.
Right.
Like, because he's talking about his resentments and his angers and his fears and shit like that. I was like, you're allowed to be afraid, man. It's okay. Like, you're allowed, like, you're not allowed to act on them, like, unacceptably.
Yeah.
And like, you're going to have to learn that. And that's going to be a process. Like, you have whatever, 4 or 5 months clean right now. It's going to be different how you process it right now versus 5 years versus 15 years. But as long as you're willing to like do that work and unravel that and unlearn your coping mechanisms or how you deal with that, like, that's gonna dictate how your actions are gonna play out. Right. Like with my son, like I remember as a kid, like, you weren't allowed to have a tantrum. If you had a tantrum, like, it's like, shut that shit down. And I'm like, he's a fucking 2-year-old. He's 2.5. Like, he doesn't understand that shit. So like, I let him have like his moment. I'm like, he's frustrated about something, he's angry about something, he doesn't understand why. So I'm like, okay, I let him be frustrated for a little bit, and then like I calm him down, and I'm like, listen, you can't eat a box of Teddy Grahams, my man.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Well, that's being mindful.
You're my dad. Like,
Yeah.
I'm your dad. Like you can't eat a box of Teddy Grahams. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And like,
That's
you can have
just
2
being
more.
mindful, dude.
You can have 2 more. We're gonna put on some Bluey, and we're gonna
Grahams-
relax.
Teddy Grahams are great.
Right.
Teddy Grahams
So
are fucking great.
So I want to just speaking about that. Like I was at this men's retreat, and I went over my 4-step with my sponsor, and we were on resentments, right? And so, you know, I was adopted, so I had a resentment against my adopted father, you know, because I'm a man.
Yeah.
How could you not love your son? Like, I love my son, like I love my sons, and like, how could you not love your son? How could you put him up for adoption and not fight? And you, because that's what I would do, my very last breath for my son, right?
Yep.
How could you not do that? You're not a man. And going through it and thinking about it, I was like, but I don't even really know if this man even had an option. I don't even know if he even knew that my mother was, my biological mother was pregnant. Because you got to remember, this is back in '69.
Have you met your biological parents? Or
Never.
Never.
No.
Do you
No.
know who they are?
I don't. All I had was a picture,
Have you-
Polaroid picture of my mother from her arms, from her neck down, holding. All I could see was her arms and me in
you?
her arms. That was it.
Have you thought about looking
And
that
a
up?
letter. I haven't.
Wow.
I haven't, because
I mean, at this
I've
point,
healed.
At this
Well,
point,
yeah, no,
they-
yeah.
I've healed from
It's,
it.
forever
it's
old.
my curiosity would kill me, so like
Right.
I'm just like,
Like, I've healed. I don't know. They probably tormented themselves, their whole lives over what they did.
Yeah.
No, of
You know what I
course.
mean?
And I mean,
Yeah.
they're in their 70s now.
But-
yeah.
Right. I held a resentment against a man. I don't even know if he even had an option.
he might not even know you're here. dude.
That
I
I
mean,
was
because
born.
back
Yeah.
in '69, when
Adoption was not like it was.
No,
now.
and if
it
she-
was under the table, hush
yeah,
hush.
like
And
it's like you go through the
Do
Catholic
you even know how
Church
old your
and-
mom was when she had
I
you?
know any
Exactly.
of
So
that.
if she was in high school, she would have been sent away.
Right. I
Like
don't know.
that's what happened. Like women
Fuck,
were
dude.
like pregnant teenagers were not a thing. It was like, no, you're taken out of school. Like it is
Yeah.
entirely different. So yeah, I mean, what you got?
You know what's weird is the pregnant teenagers in high school when we were kids. Their kids are now 18.
I know.
Is that fucked up?
Oh, minor.
Yeah, 18, 19.
No, I guess the one girl who had one
20. Holy
freshman
shit.
year.
Ah.
Yeah, she is a 23-year-old and she's 36, 37. Yeah, she is like a 20-something-year-old.
This is gonna be my last question.
It's not gonna come up with the last one. I gotta pick one.
You were institutionalized for sure.
Ooh, are you gonna steal one of my questions? Good.
And I think something that really fucking pisses me off, and like I didn't get institutionalized through jails. Like I was institutionalized through like meds, centers and rehabs and psych wards and like, but that shit becomes comfortable, right? After a while. So, and I don't want to talk about the comfortability of institutionalized. I want to talk about the after part where you're talking about like the felony and
Breaking
not
the cycle.
finding work,
Breaking the
like,
cycle.
and how hard it is to find a job. Like
Right.
after, like, Because you don't have an option. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like, it's like, okay, I can work in this really hot
you're going back to bat with 2 strikes
warehouse,
against you. Yep.
and like you got lucky and got a break. Like you just had a it was like, oh shit, I can drive. But like, how difficult, and like you've sponsored people, probably you've had the same experience, is it to get back into like society,
Becoming
I
a
guess,
productive member
right?
of society, man.
Like, because like you're kind of casted out. Like, and everything's put against you. You don't have a fucking chance.
Yeah. Well, you have to replace. I tell my sponsors, you have to replace that fear with faith. You have to. You're going to get a lot of no's. All you need is that one yes, and have faith that one yes is going to come, and it will. There's people out there. There's programs out there.
Yeah.
Doors programs for rehabilitation. They help people find jobs. That coming out of the criminal justice system.
And you can Google it, like the top 10 companies that will hire convicted felons.
It's a lot different now, like
UPS.
There's a lot.
So it's not like it used to be.
No, it's a lot different now. And be honest. Like I was honest.
You have to be honest.
I was honest on my app, and I learned that being honest, as much as it sucks.
Well, they're gonna run a background check too.
Well, that too, but you got to be honest. Like, yes, I committed an armed robbery when I was 20 years old. I was hanging with the wrong people and I did the wrong things. I served my time. I did my time, and I'm trying to move on from that and be a productive member of society, and that's all you can say.
Yeah.
Yep. I tell them, do not write it down on the paper. You can say, we'll explain in person.
Yeah.
If you've been convicted of a felony,
You got to do it in person.
yes, we'll explain in person. Now they want to get you in there. They want to know, like, and that gives you an opportunity to present yourself.
Yeah.
You're your own. You got to present yourself, and you got to do it.
Well,
and,
if you're not genuine, they're gonna just like be like,
Right.
fuck off, man.
right, you got to get past. I learned that from I used to answer the question. Yes, I was convicted of armed robbery on the paperwork. Never hear nothing back. Never hear nothing back. Every time.
Yep.
I never hear back. Somebody told me, said, don't put that on there. Just say, we'll answer in person. Then you get to explain yourself. Because people's perception of that is you was out there robbing banks and all kinds of stuff.
This guy's a murderer. Blah, blah, blah.
I robbed a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Who went and snitched on me. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
You know what I mean?
motherfucker.
Because he had a legitimate job and said that the money I took from him
Was from the job.
From the job,
No.
right? So I ended up going right. So I got to explain that.
Yeah.
I was in active addiction. I was using. I robbed a drug dealer for his drugs.
And everyone knows someone in active addiction now.
Now,
That's
right.
not.
I
It's
know.
not like
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It still has a shadow, but not. It
It's
doesn't
the-
cast
it's
as
breaking.
as much.
It
yeah.
is not.
We're breaking the stigma.
We have judges that were in active addiction.
Yeah.
We have lawyers. We have doctors. We have that are in recovery.
Yeah.
We're not defined by the mistakes we made. We're defined by what we do after those mistakes.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. Last question. All right, this is gonna be a two-parter. So long-term recovery. How do you keep it fresh? That's 1A, and 1B is this one's gonna be a little explanation. So, like, what does miracles in recovery mean to you? Because like, there's a lot of stuff in my story. Like, especially like I'm lucky. Like, I'm a one-timer. I came into recovery and I've stayed.
Right.
And I don't have an explanation for that. Like, and like how I've been able to, like, I've lost a lot of people. I've lost relationships. I've lost jobs, and a lot of that time I've dealt with depression. So there's been a lot of times where I don't understand how I got through, but I did. And so, like, how do you maintain your long-term recovery, and what does miracles in recovery mean to you?
Okay, part one is I stay plugged in. I like I said, I have a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor. I have sponsees. I go to meetings. I go to conventions all over the country. I go, and I travel with people in recovery, and I do things. My job, for one, is what helps me stay grounded. I never can get too big because I'm just one bad decision from being like this person I'm trying to help. You know, I remember those days, you know, and that keeps that up in front. When I see what they're going through, it reminds me of when I went through it, because now I'm sharing my experience with them, you know, all the time. You know, miracles in recovery are just like, look, I'm a 2-time convicted felon with handgun, armed robbery charges, and I got keys to a police station.
Yeah.
Just because of what I've done with my life in recovery. That is a miracle that these people trust me with the police station with the keys to it. Like, you know, you're like I said, you're not a product of what you've done. It's a product. You're a product of what you're doing right now. And, you know, and there's many examples of miracles like that, and people who have changed their lives. I was like, I saw the job and I was like, there is no way in hell these people are going to hire me to go out on calls with officers on overdoses when they see that I got armed robbery charges. And when I got in the interview, you know what the chief told me? They said, you are exactly the person we need to go out on overdose calls with us and with the officers. And I was just like, wow, that's, you know, you've been through it, you've done it, and you've changed your life. Who better to help?
It's good that they see it
people
now.
Right.
And like, that's a whole nother miracle. Like all that like difficulty you went through ultimately built up to this ability and a station where you can help those people. And then like that can perpetuate a whole new cycle and change that person's life. Like,
right. And not only that, changed the officers' lives of these people who have dealt with these people over and over and over again, to see them as humans and people just like them. And that is just like the criminal junkie addict, you know?
Man.
Yeah.
To see them people
crazy.
in a different way. Like when they're like, hey, Ron, man, I got this lady. She, you know, I think you would be great to help her. You know, I can't help her. I don't know what to do. Can you come help her?
Dude,
you know,
that's a small miracle.
for them to come and call me and say that, and instead of just locking her up and throwing away the key, that is a miracle in recovery. Recovery itself in a whole. And it happens. I worked in an emergency department, hospitals, doctors. I'll say this about the miracle. I started at a hospital, and this young lady, something was wrong with her leg. It was nothing major. It was something minor, but she had some pain, discomfort. And when they were discharging her, they discharged her with 30 Percocets, right?
Yep.
And I went to the doctor and I said, dude, why are you discharging this lady with 30 Percocets? And they were like, what do you mean? And I said, you know, if she takes all 30 of these Percocets, this lady gonna have a habit when she's done. She's gonna be ill. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, you need to like send them home with like enough for 2 days, like a day and a half's worth.
30's a lot.
And if they need to come back and get more, then they have to go through this whole process again. But 30 is too many.
Oh yeah.
Do you know he said that they never thought of that, and it auto-populated that. When they put in for a prescription, it just automatically came out at 30. They changed in that hospital, in that emergency room, they changed how that came out. Now it only comes out with 7.
Yeah.
And if you need more than 7, you have to come back.
Yeah.
We're in a position to make, you know, miracles happen. Change, like these doctors and these nurses who are on the front lines, they see us come in every day.
Yeah.
You know, to change how these are also miracles in recovery. Like, you know, to have a doctor who's been in college 7 years or 9 years come to me and say, Ron, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron, I don't know what to do. Can you go help her? Sure. You know?
Those are such huge moments of gratitude for me, because I'm like, do you know where I've been? Like, do you know who like how did I get from there to here?
Right.
It is like, wow.
And I tell them my
Something's
story.
changed.
I tell them my story. and they cannot believe.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
That used to be you? I'm like, yeah, I used to be that same person in that bed.
Yeah.
That used to be me, man.
And that's what's so mind-blowing. Like, that's something I love about recovery is I never saw that part of you, so I know who you are now. And, like, so to even think of that person, or, Jack. Like,
Oh, Earl?
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, like, I shot dope for 30 years. Like,
Right.
what? Like, I would never see that because you're not that person. Just like you said, you're not that person.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we would like to thank Ron for joining us today.
Man, thank you guys.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you guys for having me,
man.
man. I really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, man. One last quick minute talking to anybody out there who's struggling, needs to hear a message of hope. What do you have to say directly to them?
Reach out, man. There's plenty of resources and plenty of people willing to help you. Plenty of people. You just have to walk through that fear. And I understand that it's scary. Change is scary, but you can change. We're sitting here as prime examples of that. Yeah, and give yourself a break. Like I've heard somebody say all the time, give yourself 60 days, 90 days.
Yep.
And if you want to go back out there, the dope man will still be there.
Yep.
The liquor stores will still be on the corner. The police will still be happy to lock you up.
Yeah.
And there'll still be plenty of dirt to throw over your body.
Yeah. Oof.
Give yourself a break, man. Give yourself 60 days. And I guarantee you, your life will change for the better.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank you again. And here at Podcast Recovery, we're aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us once again. Go to all our social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to come on the podcast, send us a DM. And if you'd please to add to our Patreon, because we are self-supporting and we need help keeping the mics on, that would be great. But most importantly, everybody out there, Eric,
stay safe and stay clean.